Today we're going to start working on your books that you'll be keeping your notes in for class. These are going to be a mixed media project, so we'll be using lots of different things on here. The first thing we'll be doing is using painted sheets that you're going to make yourself to create a design and collage that onto your cover. And then we'll be using ink and glitter to enhance your design. I have lots of different examples here just to show you that you can either do a planned out picture or you can do just geometrical shapes and something a little more organic. You'll be including your name on there as well, so be thinking about how you might want to include that. I have just a bunch of different ones I have started. Some of them have been planned to add to make a book, and some of them I was just making too, but for all of these there will be right in the center is where the spine is going to be, so don't put anything major right there. That's going to get covered up. And I'll have a lot of these in class too, so if you want to take a look at them, you can. Some of these are started, some are not quite finished yet, but just to give you an idea, even with circles, turn out really cool. I like this black and white border a lot. I use it a lot, as you'll see. Flowers, I'm going to show you how to do those too if you want to do something like that, or you can create your own design that way. So you can kind of decide how involved you want this to be. Okay. So the first part of this project is just getting some colors down. So we'll be creating the cover, which is your thicker sheet, and then you'll have music sheets. They're basically just recycled papers. I get them from the music department, but any papers will do. This is a little bit easier to collage with. So with the music sheets, you'll be painting one side. The covers, you'll be doing both sides. These will get cut up to create the designs over here. So if you see, the back of these are not painted, just one-sided. You're going to start off with your cover and 3 music sheets. If you get more done and want to do some more colors so you have more variety, that's great. The first thing you're going to do is you have your name on your paper, so I'm going to go ahead and add that to this one. And then whichever class period you are, we'll put that on there too. Just in case you guys get separated, we'll get you back together. For this part of the project, for the background, we're going to be using the little bit thinner paints. These are the glazes. They go on pretty well. We want just a thin layer because we're going to be stenciling on top of this later on. I have some examples. We'll be doing this in just a little bit. But when you get ready to do this, think about the color wheel and how colors mix. You can do single colors if you want to, but you can also do multiple colors on your sheet. But they do kind of start to mix together. So anything neighboring, so right next to each other on the color wheel, usually work pretty well together. Anything across is going to make a green or a brown, so kind of keep that in mind. So as you keep scraping, these colors are going to kind of mesh together. If you have any questions on that, there are color wheels posted up in the classroom. We're going to start off with the cover sheet. We're going to do that one first, then we'll do your music sheets. Then we'll come back to the cover and flip it over so you can do that side. It gives it a chance to dry. So the way you do this is you'll pick your colors. You can decide if you want 2 or 1, but about a total of 5 or 6 drops of paint is plenty. So I'm going to show you how to do 2 colors. I'm going to do them up here. You could also do stripes. I'll show you that too. Okay, so I have 6 drops of paint. That's plenty. And I have my gift card. This is how we're going to be painting your papers. Have it down there pretty tight because we want a very, very thin layer of paint. As you scrape through, the first little swipe, colors will block each other out like that. The more you scrape, the more these colors are going to start to mix together like this. So it depends on what kind of look you're really wanting. Okay, and then you can add paint if you need to. It's just easier to add paint. If you get too much, you will end up with a mess. So we want to make sure not to use too much paint at a time. You can paint over your name. Just make sure we can still see it. I'm going to flip this over here. This is just your background, so we will be collaging on top of this. So even if you don't totally love what the design is, that's okay. You just want to make sure that all the white gets covered up. If you end up with a lot of paint out here, scrape that with your gift card and there will be paint on your card, so you can use that to kind of fill up what's left. But this shouldn't take too long. Okay, so I already have my one side covered down. Make sure there's no shiny paint because that means it's really thick and it won't dry very fast. We want this to be a pretty quick process. So I'm going to set this aside. And I would paint the rest of my music pages. I'm actually going to flip them over and paint on the music side. I like the texture for that. I want each of these a different color so that I have something to collage. So I might do, like, I have a yellow, I have a green, and maybe this pink purple color, because these, if I cut these up, will show up on here, and that's what we're after. So I would do the same process on here. Once these are done, flip this one over and do the back. You can either do the same color or a different color. I usually do the same color because I get it everywhere, and it's just easier that way than trying to cover it up. So I'm going to do this real quick. And that's what you would get done today. If you've done this before and are pretty confident in your skills, you might have time today to start stenciling, so I am going to show that here in just a minute. If you only get that far today, that's okay. But again, just making sure you get all of that covered up, using up all your paint. Try not to have a lot of excess. And hopefully we can still see your name. Okay, so I have my cover done, and then I have my music sheets that I did too. Next, I'm going to show you how to do the stenciling part. For stenciling, I want a layer of at least 3 different stencils. If you can do 4 different things on there, that ends up pretty cool too. This adds a lot of texture to what you're doing. I like to work in families, but you can do this however you want to. When I do my painted sheets, I like to go a little bit lighter so that when I do my stenciling, it for sure shows up. You can decide how you want to do that. So for this stenciling, what we'll have out are bubble wrap, cardboard piece, sequin waste, and a cup. You'll have wax paper. Those might be in the tote for you if you're lucky. And then you'll have your smaller bottles, which is a little bit thicker paint. That works well for the stenciling part of it. I'm going to put out several colors here for the demo. I would recommend just doing one at a time because you don't know how much time you have, and a little paint goes a long ways. So I'm just going to get these out quick so you can see the different colors and how they, see the different stencils and how they work. Okay. We're going to be using the makeup sponges to do the stenciling with, and I'll show you how each one of these are working. I'm going to go ahead and use my cover sheet. You could stencil on all the papers. You could focus on one paper if you want to. You could do just your music sheets and not your background, or vice versa. It kind of just depends on what you have time for. I'm going to start off with the sequin waste. This is one of my favorite ones. I'm going to use this light purple that I have. So I'm going to get some paint on here, and I'm going to dab it off on the side because we want just a very thin layer on the sponge. So I'm going to hold the sequin waste down, tie it on there, and lightly dab this. So then I'll get the negative of there. So I'll get groups of circles. I like to do this and kind of just move around using that same little dab on there. I might only need that much to cover this whole thing. If you have some white, you can do that to kind of cover that area up. Just going to do half for the demo. Okay, that's how you do the sequin waste. I have a cup. Same thing, all of these use the same technique. We're going to dab some paint. Get that on here. These will make different rings. It's okay if they're not 100% like getting a full ring. We're going to be adding ink and colored pencil to enhance those stamping marks. So that's all right. So you have that. We also have the cardboard piece, which is here. Same technique. I'm going to use some blue here. And you're just going to stamp it on. A little bit of paint on my sponge. I try to use this in between, like where I did the dots, because that's usually pretty spread out. Okay, that's how you use the cardboard. And then we also have the bubble wrap. I'm going to take the bubble wrap and just blot this on there. Then you'll end up with groups of circles. So they're a little bit different. They're kind of crinkly circles. So if there's any other stamps in there, you do the exact same technique. Get some paint on a sponge, put it on whatever the stamp is, and then stamp it. Don't dip it directly in the paint because you'll end up with way too much paint. That's how you do the stenciling.